By the way, I think everybody would agree our youth council is probably the best in the state. Wouldn't you guys all agree to that? These guys are fantastic. So thank you so much for all you do. All right, we've had quite a few questions come in. For those of you who are just walking in, please make sure to fill out those 3x5 cards. Things that are important to you. If you've turned it in already, make sure you turn it in. Otherwise, we're closing it off right now, right? So we have those. So we have a lot of them. So tonight, we're going to start off with our city council. And the 4 candidates in this order, so hopefully everybody received that. We'll start off with Chris Kemp, then Scott Smith, Kurt Osler, then Dennis LeBaron. And they'll be answering the first opening statements. Each of you have 2 minutes for your opening statement, okay? Out in the back, once again, our youth council, they're going to have these nice cards to tell you when you have 30 seconds left, 10 seconds left. Please, please be kind. Follow the rules. When it's time to be done, it's time to stop talking, right? So thank you, everybody. We will start off with opening statements from Chris Kemp.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here with the residents of Highland and represent you, hopefully. It's an honor to be here with all these other candidates who have worked so hard and have a great desire to serve the city. A little bit about me. 10 years ago, our family was looking for a great place to move to. We were looking for somewhere that had safe schools, friendly people, good government, and we were fortunate enough to end up in Highland. We've been grateful to raise our family here for the last 10 plus years, and I believe it's our duty to serve our community when we're given a great opportunity to live in such a great place, to serve our community, to give back to those who make it a great place for us to live. I feel I am uniquely qualified to be your representative on the city council because I have 13 years of planning commission experience, 7 of which have been in Highland. For almost the last 5 years, I've been chairman of the planning commission. It gives me lots of insight into the city and some of the challenges that we face. I'd like to bring that experience to the residents of Highland to make it a better place for all of us. I've been self-employed since 1998, and I've started several successful businesses. I've also helped manage very large projects in excess of $400 million. So I know how to operate a business, deal with employees, and also deal with customers. I have no axe to grind or debts to settle with anyone in our city, no ulterior motives other than to serve the residents and make Highland the best place it possibly can be. I feel Highland has some upcoming challenges, and it will need competent leaders with good values who have common sense, who can get us through those challenges, and I feel my experience makes me qualified to help Highland City be the best it can be.
Hi, I'm Scott Smith. Kurt, you turned on.
I'm Scott Smith, and I want to thank every one of you for coming tonight. I've lived in Highland for 30 years. I love living here. My family loves living here. I would bring the council experience. I know the issues, and I don't have to go through a learning curve because I've served on the council before. I'd like to talk about 2 or 3 issues in my 2 minutes here. One, Highland needs our own zip code. Amazon.com now pays sales tax. If we're going to get our fair share, we need our own zip code. 2, one of the most important things that cities provide for their citizens is public safety. And I want to tell you, the Lone Peak Safety Paramedics and Firemen Department is in disarray. There have been personnel problems. There are 8 to 10 paramedics, firemen that have left or in the process of leaving. 4 of them just 2 weeks ago because their benefits were cut. There's conflicts between them and the board. We've had a state audit. The best life insurance you can have and the best property insurance you can have is a well-trained, fully staffed fire and paramedic service. I'd like to talk about something else. I'm not going to roll over and play dad when other cities come and try to annex the borders of Highland. An example is American Portplex that wants to annex everything south of Lone Peak High School. Lehigh wants to annex all the Dry Creek area so they can build a pressurized irrigation pond that would be larger than Tibble Fork. As citizens of Highland, we need to stand up and fight for our property rights, even if these projects are good for the common good. 4, I'd just like to say we're running surpluses in the city. Our reserve is up at 25%. The sewer fund's at 3.5 million reserves, and yet we have the biggest tax increase in the last year in the history of the city, and we'll talk more about that tonight. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kurt Osler, and I've lived here in Highland for 24 years. I'm a father of 5 children. We happen to have one little boy that passed away here about 10 years ago. We have him buried over in the Highland Cemetery. We have our 4 other children have been raised here in Highland. We went to all the Highland schools here. We've appreciated, loved the community and the association with the neighbors we have. I've been married to my beautiful wife for 24 years and 10 months. We're going to be celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary coming up. One of the things, we moved here 6 months after we were married. One of the things that drew us here to Highland was the open space that we saw and the big lots. We also loved the people as we met them, as we came to get to know them as we were here, and then we also loved the values the community have. One of the areas where I've served on the Planning Commission for the last year and a half. I've also served on the Highland Film Committee. I've been there helping with the food vendors, and I've also been the parade announcer over many years there for the parade. I've served for the Homeowners Association for here in Cottages on the Green that is over in the Alpine Country Club, and another Homeowners Association at Lodges of Deer Valley. I love the Boy Scouts of America, and I've served a long time for over 24 years in the Cub Scouts and in the Boy Scouts, and I serve on many training staffs with them. I'm unique that I am an entrepreneur at heart. When I was a sophomore in college, I started my very first business, renting TVs and VCRs out to the college students. I've also owned my own manufacturing business with over 75 employees for 21 years. I am currently a real estate investor. I do not currently own any real estate, plan to own any commercial real estate here in Highland. I'm not a developer. I just would like to serve the community I love. Thank you.
Hello, I've enjoyed my opportunities to serve on the Highland City Council. I'm running for re-election to do what, as one resident put it, keep Highland a great place to raise our kids. And I think that the past 4 years we've made great progress in that effort by preserving good roads, by funding a plan to repair our bad roads, by retiring $2.5 million in bonded debt, by putting in place a plan to maintain our utility infrastructure to the year 2030, and by balancing park usage between residents and sports clubs. As you review your selection among the excellent choices, I'd like to invite you to visit my website, DennisLaverin.com, and see if you agree with me that I'm careful with taxpayer money, committed. I will vote for no new taxes or fees in the next 4 years. I'm current, check my stand on the hot topics facing Highland, and cooperative. I listen to people, citizens, through surveys, through open meetings throughout the city, and I'd like to speak to you one-on-one about your concerns and see if we can arrive at solutions. Feel free to check me out on my website. I hope you like what you see and vote to re-elect LaVerin for the City Council.
Everybody, big round of applause. Don't they deserve that? You know what? Why don't we just start this out with an easy question? Okay? Knowing your constituency and knowing the residents here in Highland, do you think that businesses should continue to be closed on Sunday within the city of Highland? And we're actually going to start on the opposite side. We're going to start with Dennis and work our way back this time.
Okay, thank you. Sunday closing is a community value that the majority of Highland residents support. And there are some that fear that by closing on Sunday, a lot of revenue is lost through sales taxes. The fact of the matter is, it has been estimated conservatively that that would amount to about $70,000. And that's if Sunday business brought in the same as it did the other day. I think in checking with local pharmacy, CVS Pharmacy, their sales revenue is higher in Highland than it is in their store in American Fork that is open on Sunday. I support keeping businesses closed on Sunday for a lot of non-measurable benefits that I believe citizens of Highland benefit from. Thank you.
Just to restate the question is, as a concern to the residents, is the businesses being closed, or how do I feel about the businesses being closed on Sunday? I recognize this is a very concerning topic for a lot of our residents. I would say this is probably the one that I get asked more than anyone else. We need to take it, for some of us, we don't maybe realize, but in 2012, our city council enacted a vote to open the businesses on Sunday. The citizens then did a referendum that placed it before the residents for vote. The residents overturned the city council action to keep the businesses closed on Sunday. I look at this as being a citizen value that we have here in Highland, and I personally love seeing the businesses closed on Sunday. I recognize that I also represent all of the Highland residents, so if the Highland residents then do vote to open on Sunday, I will honor their vote, but I am the closed on Sunday candidate.
Hey, let me talk a little bit about that. Actually, in 2012, we had a big discussion about Sunday opening. And when I felt it was very controversial, I made sure in the motion that it was put to public vote. The county then changed their mind, so we had a referendum. I signed that referendum because I wanted it to go to public vote. The citizens voted 54% to 46% to keep businesses open, or not open, but closed on Sunday. And I support the vote of the people. It's the will of the people, it's the values of the community. Now, I personally use my moral agency to determine whether I shop on Sunday or not. My business is closed in another city where Sunday businesses are open. But I'd like to say just a couple things. I will honor the vote of the people in 2012. The current council unfortunately ignored the vote of the people in 2013 to not have a road fee, and that was 2-1. So I will honor the majority will of the citizens.
I also voted for Sunday closure when that measure came up. And the reason I did is because I feel it's a family values and a Highland values issue. I think there are lots of benefits that we get from having Sunday closure. I have spoken with some of the businesses that have tried to come to Highland and then for one reason or another did not come to Highland, and I asked them specifically, was the reason you did not come to Highland because we are not open on Sunday? And all of them said, no, that's not the reason. So when people tell you that if we're open on Sunday, we're going to get lots and lots of tax revenue, that's just not the case. We will get a little bit more, but is the trade-off worth it? I don't think so. That being said, if I'm in agreement with the other candidates here, if the residents decide that they would like to be open on Sunday, I'm a representative of the residents of Highland, and I would vote however they would decide to vote.
Wonderful, thank you. Moving right along with the next easy question. This one, we will actually start with Scott, and we'll go to Christopher, and then Dennis and Kurt. So the total budget for Highland City is $16,532,000. That's our expenses. The property taxes that we bring in are $1,600,000. So obviously there's a little bit of a difference between 16 million and 1.6 million. I think a lot of people in the room here tonight would like to know, how are you as a candidate going to ensure that property taxes don't go up, but as the budget continues to increase, we have enough money to fund our city? Once again, we'll start right here, Scott.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm the only one sitting up here who has ever lowered your taxes. In 2010, I voted for a property tax decrease, which has benefited every one of you for the last 7 years. Let me tell you a little bit. The city is running surpluses now. So at this particular time, we have enterprise funds that, for example, in the sewer reserve at this time is $3.5 million. The general fund at this time has a reserve greater than 25%, which is by state, they have to reduce that. So we're doing very well. Sales tax revenue is up 182,000, B&C road funds are up, and we've just had the biggest fee increase that we've ever had in the city. property taxes play a very small part. We make more sales tax than property tax. Sales tax this year will be up over $2 million.
Well, I'm a small government, low taxes person at heart. I feel that we should spend taxpayers' money in the most prudent way possible, and we should keep those taxes and fees as low as possible. We have a lot of people in our city that are on fixed incomes, and we should be able to make sure that we don't raise taxes at all. And if there's an opportunity to lower those taxes or give money back to the people, I think we should do that. Any new programs or funding that is desired for sports parks, or recreation center, or expansions of this or that should be able to be stand on themselves and not at the detriment of a tax increase by the residents.
I believe that every tax dollar we collect should be justified. Property tax, Highland receives about 12% of all the property tax that you and I pay. While Alpine School District receives 72%, so they have 6 times the impact on our property tax than does Highland City. We are running surpluses in some of the utilities because we planned ahead to the year 2030 to pay for repairs to infrastructure. We have enacted the largest road fee so that we can finally repair our bad main roads.
Your question was about, as a candidate, how do we look at the property taxes as whether they're at or with the revenue that's coming in and how we're to keep that revenue. So here's the concern I would have is our developer fees is what's kind of supporting the city. We have our property tax coming in, we have sales tax, we have developer fees. If the developer fees are pulled away, Highland would then have a serious situation that's coming up. One of the things I see, Scott brought up a little bit earlier, is our internet sales. We have inside of Utah 10 of the top internet retailers, that meaning that your Walmart.com, Costco.com, Amazon, we need to be ensuring that we are collecting that sales tax from those internet providers. I've talked, went down to the post office, talked to the postmaster about trying to get a zip code. We share it with American Fork. One of the big concerns we have sharing it with American Fork is we need to verify we're getting the correct sales tax coming back in. So sales tax would be one thing that we have with the internet sales. The other thing is, as a business owner, I go through my budget. I know where to cut taxes, but also to be prudent to make sure we're supplying for the citizens. So I'm a very conservative, but also I recognize we need to go in after the internet sales.
Wonderful, thank you. Next up, as many of us know, we have a growing population here in Highland, 55 plus. And one of the questions we have tonight, and we will start this one with Kurt. We'll head then down to Scott, Chris, and Dennis on this one. What are your ideas or plans? And I'm actually going to give you a minute and a half for this one, because this is actually something I've heard a lot throughout the city and with the growing population of that. What are your ideas or plans for increasing housing for the 55 plus community?
So currently in Highland, we have 2 areas where I would consider 55 plus. We have here in the town center that we have some senior housing, and as we go up by Traverse Mountain or up by going up Suncrest, we also have there another senior component. I would like to see, we have very limited areas that we can develop out. I'm in favor of looking for some senior housing. Probably, I would call it where the Longhorn cattle sheep, the area is at down here on 10400 or down here on SR 92 down by 6000 West. I think we have to be very cautious how we develop that out. I think we have, because we have some large lots that back around it. That is an area that I know that the person that owns that property has mentioned they'd like to look for some senior housing. I see that that's an area that I would probably also look to, when I get a little older, I'd like to also possibly move to. So I am cognizant of that situation. That's an area I'd maybe be considering down the road too.
Okay, the town center here has been zoned for more high-density housing. Certainly, we already have a lot of 55 plus housing here, and this will continue to be developed out. When I was on the council, we approved some senior housing, 60 townhomes up in this Sky Estates, which I think helps. But there's a master plan development for the state land just south of the high school that I would like to see stay in Highland. And there is a lot of senior housing or more higher density housing there. So to me, that kind of resolves the problem. I like big lots, that's why I'm here in Highland. I like open space, that's why I'm here. So, but I think we need to have places for those who have lived here and don't want a big yard. And so those are 3 options.
Well, I have first-hand experience with this issue because my mother-in-law used to live in Highland on a large lot, and unfortunately her husband passed away, and she could no longer take care of the big house and the large lot. So she did live in a smaller place here in Highland for a time, but she ended up moving outside of Highland because there wasn't anything here that suited her needs. So we certainly have a need for 55 and older housing in the city of Highland. As a member of the Planning Commission, I have talked with lots of developers and pushed that idea on as many of them as I possibly could. We have several areas in the city where we can have 55 and older housing. That doesn't mean these are going to be small, little, tiny Cracker Rock houses that are not nice. That means these are going to be nice homes that retain their value and increase in value. They're just going to be smaller lots that are well manicured, like Alpine has and some places in Orem. As someone who's had their career in real estate, I've seen what it takes to have these communities be successful, and I'd be very supportive of those.
I agree with the other candidates here that there are possibilities on the Patterson property where the Longhorn cattle are. There you can resign there and then move across to the cemetery later. That's a pretty poor joke, but the other options are the town center, and I feel like we're pretty well built out with high density what we want to, at least currently. We need to absorb the impact of Blackstone before we really allow for more development, I believe, residential development in the town center. As far as the land on the developmental center, that's an opportunity, possibility we need to look at and stay in communication with what's going on in that area.
Thank you. This one's a very direct question, and I think you'll only need 30 seconds to answer this one. So this one, I'm going to start with Christopher, and then head down to Dennis, Kurt, and head with Scott. Can you pledge to do all in your power to keep high-density housing out of the city center?
That's an easy one for me. Yes, I can. I've noticed that there have been, being on the Planning Commission, there have been lots of developers come in and try to push for high-density housing, and we have not been in favor of that, and where it's been kind of pushed down Highland City's throat, I've done everything I possibly could to fight against that as a member of the Planning Commission. So I would be in favor of limiting drastically the high-density housing in the city center.
This past year, there was a proposal to have a development with about 40 units per acre in the Highland Center. That I wanted to deny. I felt like we need to absorb the impact, like I said earlier, in Blackstone and Toscana. So going forward, I will vote to deny those type of high-density developments in the town center.
Yes, we can stop high density. The concern why we got Toscano and Blackstone is because we had zoning here in the city that allowed for a certain number of lots here in the town center. We've pulled that off, and now it's a special use, and so they have to come before the Planning Commission and the City Council, where before it was a certain number of units, and that's why the developers were able to come in and kind of say, hey, we want this. So yes, we can stop the high density from coming in.
I find it an interesting question because the last one we just answered was we're going to have 55 plus living here, and the town center is pretty much already almost developed. I like larger lots. I don't want apartment buildings here by any means. I think townhomes are fine, and some of the other projects probably meet the definitions, but I think it's a little ironic that in one question we say, yeah, we want senior living, then we say we don't want any high density, but I don't think there's any more room for high density. I like big lots. So.
All right, this one will demonstrate to everybody in the audience how closely they work with the city, how closely they know the different departments. So we're going to actually start this one right now. We'll start with Dennis and head our way down. Which department within the city is struggling the most and why, and I'm gonna add one little piece to this. What are you going to do to change that around? I'll give a minute and a half to answer this one. So once again, which department within the city is struggling the most and why? And what are you as a candidate going to do to change that?
Well, thank you. I'm not aware that any of our departments are really struggling. I think it's a well-run city. I think we have a great staff. We've helped strengthen the staff over the past 4 years. I think our administrators are doing an excellent job in coordinating the actions of this community. So if there's anything where we need to develop, we need to promote and encourage small business to keep coming to Highland. I think Highland is tailor-made for small businesses. It doesn't have the large enough areas or access for large retailers at this point. I think I support what Scott and Kurt both said about internet sales tax. It's a coming thing. We need to be on top of it. We need to have somebody on staff watching that, helping us promote that, get prepared for that eventuality to come.
Concerning departments here in Highland, I think all of us are aware that our fire department has had a review rate lately, and they've had some reports back about some mismanagement of fund. One of the issues we have there at the fire department is going to be morale. By them going through, they were put underneath the microscope. We need to go in, and I think we need to show that we support our fire department. We recognize there's been concerns, but there's now been checks and balances put in place to make sure that those purchase orders are being issued, the credit cards that were being used, we now have a process overseen. We need to go back to our firemen and tell them that we appreciate their service, that we love them. One of the other concerns I think I'm hearing from the fire department is a lot of our paramedics are starting out at $12 an hour. They go get the certification, they start here at 12. The other cities out there are giving a better pay to the paramedics, and we keep losing those to other cities. So if you're asking about morale, and we go back to our fire department, I think we need to put our arm around them, tell them we appreciate them, and we need to see what we can do to help with those who are starting in our city. We need to keep those individuals long term. Thank you.
I agree with Kurt. The fire department's in disarray. Morale's down, it's understaffed, they just cut their benefits. The fire, efficient, fully staffed, fully equipped fire and paramedic service is essential for the citizens of Highland. You don't need them every day. When you do need them, you need them bad. One of my neighbors, a good friend, is alive today because of the paramedics in this city. And so it's the best life insurance, it's the best property insurance. We need to have a fully staffed department. We need to make sure that they're paid appropriately and competitively so they don't leave and go to other cities. And we want them to be fully trained. So Alpine's up in arms because they're supposed to have 4 firemen up there. They have 2. And the last fire they had up there, they had to wait till a fireman came from Lehigh. So that's putting all of us at risk. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it now.
I also agree with the other candidates. When I first started running for city council several months ago, I heard some rumors about some issues in the police department. So I went and met with Chief William for 45 minutes, and he showed me around and told me about the intricacies of the police department. And I got a better feeling for him. He's a very competent man. I think the police department is run well. There can be a debate about what level of service we are going to have as far as the police department goes, but in general, I agree with Dennis. Most of our departments are running very well. That's why I love living in Highland so well. It doesn't have a lot of the issues that some of the other cities in Utah seem to have. I also agree with Scott and Kurt. The fire department has been an issue. Hopefully now with the implementation of the new procedures and a new oversight that we can get control of that situation. And we certainly want to make sure that those firefighters know that they're very well appreciated. They might not feel appreciated until they're needed, but we need to make sure that they are trained well, paid well, and appreciated. And the residents understand that a certain level of service is going to cost a certain amount of money. And us as residents in a city, we're going to have to decide what level of service we are going to be willing to pay for. Because if we want the best fire department around, that's going to come at a cost. Hopefully we don't have to raise taxes or fees or anything like that, but we need to all be informed on what level of service we want.
Thank you. And I think Christopher actually read my mind as he was saying that last little bit, because my follow-up question, we're going to start with Kurt, go with Scott, Chris, and then we'll end with Dennis. 3 out of 4 candidates agree the fire, police, right? They're struggling. I have some numbers in front of me here. 22% of our city budget is actually used by the police, 1.9 million. 14.2% is used up on fire, and that equals 36.2%. So in order to, as Scott stated, to pay them what they need to be paid to get people in, I am curious, and I bet everybody here in this room is curious as well, what are you as a candidate going to do to ensure that we increase revenue to be able to do what you just proposed? I'll give you a minute and a half to answer these.
I really appreciate your comments and questions. There's some areas, and I think this is one of the, and this is going to kind of help you out to understand where I've kind of researched. We have our police and fire underneath a certain type of state pay or benefits. Some of our other cities' employees here are also getting those similar benefits that we have, such as disability, which are long-term, short-term. Those were meant more for the police department and for firemen who are going and they're doing a little bit more heavy lifting. So I think there's some savings that we have by modifying here some of our city employees that are not out there on the front line maybe doing some of the heavy lifting, where I don't know if they're needing some because we have workman's comp, then we're going and getting long-term coverage for them, and we're going and getting short-term coverage. And I go, well, why are we paying workman's comp that's covering everything? And then it's like we're triple insuring some of our employees. And I think we can find some savings there to be able to help move down into where the need might be with our fire employees.
So I believe the question was how we'd improve revenue.
Correct.
Okay, well,
The question, the position the
right.
candidate brought up, how do you achieve that?
So, as I said first thing today, we need to have our own zip code. We need to make sure that we're getting the sales tax from Amazon.com. I dare say that the citizens of Highland spend millions of dollars in Amazon.com a year. If we get our portion of sales tax, that's going to increase things a lot. So that's one. Two, the town center around the main highways was designated 20 years ago for commercial development. We still have empty lots and empty buildings. We need a city council who is assertive about attracting businesses that meet our values. So we've decided as a community we want Sunday closing, we don't want any liquor sales. So we need to go out and look for these businesses. We have an economic committee right now of one person. We're finally doing an economic study. So there's a lot of growth there. We need to keep some of this land that keeps getting annexed into other cities in our city, because what they do is they build commercial right on the edge of our city and take all of our direct sales tax. We need to keep the land south of Lone Peak High School, but that has some commercial proposals in it, in Highland. So I think we need to grow our sales tax revenue first of all.
Yes, I agree. I think we do a much better job of soliciting businesses to come to Highland, informing them on what Highland has to offer and how they can be successful in Highland. We should also get our portion of the sales tax revenue. I've been a proponent of our own zip code for a long time. Fighting that bureaucracy has proven to be difficult, but it doesn't mean we don't give up on the hope that we can do that. I think we also need to do periodic reviews of the police and the fire department to make sure that money is not being wasted. And if it is being wasted, we need to figure out ways that we can make those departments more efficient. We also need to do a better job of communicating with our residents to find out what level of service we are willing to pay for. The fact of the matter is that the police and the fire department are going to cost a certain amount of money. Those jobs are difficult. Those people do not make a lot of money. But to have a safe community, which is one of the reasons I brought my family here, is going to cost a certain amount of money. We want to keep that money as low as possible, but we need to have the debate about what level of service we all want to have.
This city council has commissioned a firm to do an economic study, as Scott pointed out. We're awaiting results and recommendations. We've had economic committees in the past, but we need to keep at it to bring in more business. As far as your premise or your question on funding for the fire department and public safety, we do need to look at raising money, but I don't necessarily agree that we have to pay more right now. I think we have a reorganization, a reevaluation of salaries from the top down.
Wonderful, thank you. All right. When you vote for city zoning changes, this is a good one. I like this one. Whoever wrote this. When you vote for city zoning changes, how will you make your decision? Do you believe developers or the citizens of Highland should have more impact on your decisions, or will you make your vote based upon who contributed to your campaign, your own personal agenda, or what the citizens of Highland want as the basis of your decision? So two sections there. Who will make your decision? We're actually going to start with Dennis, and then we'll go over here to Christopher, Scott, and Andrew.
It's R130 we created in this past city council to address flexibility along the border of the cities. And some felt, myself included, that that should be looked at as something for the interior climate, as it being a more stable type zoning. As I've contemplated further on this matter, though, I felt that we need to follow the master plan. And so if we want to have our 130s in the city, we need to get citizen buy-in and change the master plan and then follow that zoning. We must follow our plans that are in place.
Well, developers don't have any problem making money, especially now in this economy. So my record pretty much stands for itself as a planning commission member, as the chairman of the planning commission. Whenever I have an opportunity to vote in behalf of the citizens or the developers, I will always choose the citizens. The developers, if they're here just to look for a cash cow and to make money off the residents of Highland, they can go look somewhere else. I would much rather put money in the residents' pockets and protect the residents' rights in their future rather than protect any developer. And if that means that our growth has to slow down a little bit, that's okay. I'm for keeping the R140 zone. The residents have made it clear they want Highland to stay a large lot community. I think we can slow down our growth just a little bit, get control of it, make sure we're doing the right thing, and not be in a rush to take the first development that comes our way.
I agree with a lot that's been said here. I think we need to really look at the master plan and probably update it. And I think the majority of Highland citizens, when they do surveys, like large lots. And I think a lot of people think about that being R140. R140 has a lot of different variations. My neighborhood is zoned R140. I live in an R140 area, but I live on a half acre, but we have a large association park. There are open space neighborhoods that are R140 that have smaller lots and large areas of open space. There are other R140s where you have acre lots. So there's lots of variations. I think the citizens and the community value should trump developers. But at the same time, I think at all times we need to remember people have individual property rights and we need to respect those as well. So it's kind of a balance, but we have zoning for a purpose because it's the values that citizens choose that they want their city to implement.
I appreciate asking the question. This is one reason why I'm running. Is because when I've been on the planning commission, I hear back from the residents. I look at our master plan, and then while we're on the planning commission, it seems like we're saying, okay, let's keep to the master plan. It gets to the city council, and I wonder, are there different citizens showing up there, or what's going on? Because it seems like they've changed what the master plan was, what our plan, and what the residents want. This is one reason why I'm running, is because I feel like the voice of the residents need to be there. To help the residents understand, an R1, we have 3 residential zones, an R120. If we have 40 acres and we have an R120, that's 80 homes. If we have an R130, that's 58 homes. If it's an R140, it's 43 homes as we look at 40 acres. I support, as well as what the residents do here, large lots, and I also support our master plan. I agree we probably need to look to update it, but I believe we need to follow the master plan so the citizens know what our plan is and we don't keep waffling back and forth, and so they know what to expect.
Wonderful, thank you. We are getting close to time being over. Everybody, have you enjoyed it so far? What do you think? Big round of applause for the candidates so far. Almost over. We've almost made it. Well, as soon as they're done, over there in the meet and greet, as soon as everybody's done, you have the opportunity to ask them further questions based on the answers that they've given tonight. So next up, the city council is comprised of 5 people. Tell me how you align with the other 3 council members not running for office. What issues do you defer with them on, and why? We're going to start right here and move our way down.
Well, I think I'm a mix of the other people that will be left on the city council, and I think that's good. I don't align with any particular person on the city council. I don't have any backroom deals that if I get on the city council, I'm going to vote with you all the time. I'm going to look at the issues and make the decisions that's best for the residents of Highland. There are some things I agree with certain people on. Like as a member of the Planning Commission, there are things that I have recommended to Mayor Mann, or to candidate Mann, that he has not agreed with me on, and we just haven't seen eye to eye on some of those things. And there are other council members who we just have a different opinion on, and that's okay. I don't think we should all be one homogeneous voting body. We should be able to debate ideas and discuss them and not have a preset notion of how we're going to vote on any certain issue.
I agree with much of what he said. Am I in the wrong place? Oh, okay. When I was on the council before, I was the swing vote. And if I agreed with some, I did, and if I didn't, with others. But you can disagree and not be disagreeable. And I always felt that the other members of the council were my friends, even though we didn't always see eye to eye on things. So I'm going to vote based on my principles, based on what the citizens tell me. I'm going to, for example, I may vote with Tim Irwin and Ed Dennis on open space issues because I know a lot about open space neighborhood issues. But I may vote with other members of the council on fiscal conservative issues. So it depends on what the issue is, but I consider all council members to be my friends, and we will work together to accomplish the good for the city.
So I think you're going to notice in my personality, I get along well with most individuals. I'm a team player. I respect everyone else's opinion, but I also recognize I need to also step up, and this is my opinion. But if you look, we have Brian Braithwaite that's on the city council. I think you'll notice that I will align with him on development. You'll notice with Tim Irwin that I will probably align with him on how the budgetary aspects are done. And with Ed Dennis, you'll notice I'll align with him on the open space. You know, it's interesting that Scott brought up the open spaces. I've unlocked some of the doors there. The concerns with some of our open space communities, which are 18 in Highland, they don't feel really connected to Highland. And so I think that's something that, I think that Ed Dennis can help us all with, and as we look at other candidates. So I think you're going to find that I get along with all of them. There's going to be areas I don't agree with all of them.
We aren't always unanimous, but we have a good time trying to get there. And we've had good discussions on every issue that faces Highland. We've made progress on open space. We've begun to sell some of the parcels that cannot be maintained by the city back to owners that are adjacent to that open space. We've entered into maintenance agreements with open space citizens. We've done a lot of good work on roads. It's an exciting time to be here to watch roads start being repaired during the coming year. And these are all enacted because we have a good leadership team in place. And I'd like to keep it going.
All right, now comes that fun time where you give your wrap-up speech, and everybody's vote in this room is based on this next 2 minutes that you speak. So no pressure whatsoever. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with Kurt, head to Dennis, Christopher, and then Scott, you'll wrap us up. 2 minutes, if you can summarize everything for these wonderful people here this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the time. Thank you for coming tonight, by the way, everyone. I really appreciate your support and your interest here in the city that we all love. As we look at some of the things where my strengths will be at, is going to be in economic development. I understand businesses. I understand how to help and develop the businesses to come. I understand the internet sales. We've had several of us talk about the zip code issue. We've got to make sure that we're getting the revenue. When I talked to the postmaster down there at the American Fork, he says that Highland and Alpine are disproportionately, we get a lot of packages delivered up here, almost per capita higher than anywhere else in the state. So we need to make sure we're getting our sales tax. Commercial development, we have 24 national or regional tenants that are here. They are coming. We need they're coming because of our economic development, because of our strong store sales. We need to paint a picture to them, those who are coming to look, to help and develop that plan. The other thing is we've looked at zoning. Some of the things with I have a strong background in commercial real estate as well as other real estate. With that, I've worked with several cities with sign permits and everything else. Probably my strongest thing is I like to listen to citizens. I actually enjoy knocking on doors and getting to meet them. I'm going to promise that I will communicate with you and listen. I will understand those issues and try to understand the best I can with an open mind. I will seek your input. I will return phone calls and emails. I'll be prepared on the issues. I will go to the areas where the plans are to be instituted in. I will make sure I understand the changes that are going to be coming before us. I will serve with integrity. I will make sure that I am making sure that when you hear a stance I'm on, I'm not going to be waffling. I'm there unless I have a better input that makes and helps me understand. On the debt and taxes, I'm strong in businesses. I understand how to look at a budget and I understand where to cut. I also know, once again, that there's services that are needed in the city and I'll provide those services. I understand that the money is paid by the taxpayers through taxes are the hard-earned money of your money. And I will never forget that. And I ask for your vote.
Thank you as well for coming tonight. I've enjoyed living in Highland for most of my life. I love the mountains, I love the open field of the city, and most of all, I think that Highland's greatest asset is the people. As I've been on the campaign trail and met some of you, I've been impressed with the care taken of the homes, great ideas that you share, and focus on our families. I will strive to keep Highland exceptional. A couple of indicators of that are that the Highland has the second lowest bonded debt per resident, and of its neighboring cities, it has the second lowest property tax rate of its neighboring cities. And I pledge to do all I can to keep Highland a great place to live by continuing to reduce debt so that we'll be debt free by the year 2028. That will execute very well our fantastic road plan that we put in place. That will continue to resolve open space and park issues. That will maintain Highland's values, and that will expand opportunities for small businesses, including internet sales tax. I invite you to review my record. Visit my website at dennislebear.com. I think we've made good progress. Let's stay the course. Vote for Dennis LeBear.
Well, it's been a great privilege, win or lose in this contest. It's been a great privilege to represent the residents of Highland on the Planning Commission for the last 7 years, and actually go out and get to meet you and talk to you and hear about your concerns. And by and large, Highland, the opinion of the residents, it's a great place to live. Do we have our issues? Yes, we do. I actually moved here from a city that we helped get started, started off the ground from the ground up, and it had a lot of issues. And I was able to learn through getting that city started what some of the issues are that have huge impacts on cities, and what we can do to maybe avoid those impacts. That's why I joined the Planning Commission with that city before, and that's why I joined the Planning Commission here. I know the issues that face the residents. I know some of the problems that we have coming up. I think I'm well prepared with my experience in business and with city government over the last 13 years as serving on planning commissions in a couple of different cities to represent the will of the residents. I'm willing to listen. When I'm wrong on an issue, I want to talk to people and I want to be told why I'm wrong, and I'm not afraid to tell people that I'm wrong and to change my vote. I don't think any city council person or mayor should be a dictator, but they should represent the will of the residents. The residents come before developers always. I think we have some growth and some things we can work on, certainly the tax revenue, the businesses, better planning, making sure we do a better job of our growth, and things like that. And I think I'm well qualified to represent you, and that's why I'm running. So I would appreciate your vote.
Thanks again for coming, and I appreciate your listening. I'd like to hear from you after the meeting. You know where I stand on the zip code. You know where I stand on the importance of having the best public safety, especially fire and paramedics. It's your best life insurance, it's your best property insurance. We need to support them. We need not to cut their benefits. We need to have them stop quitting and leaving. We've lost 8 to 10. This is a main problem, in my opinion. So let's talk a little bit about the road fee. You know, the studies were done for a 7-year road fee. The staff recommended a 7-year road fee. The article in the Herald was a 7-year road fee. There were 2 motions for a 7-year road fee, but all of a sudden it became an 11-year road fee. I promise you, once taxes and fees are in place, they're hard to get rid of. The first thing I would do as a member of the council is work to reduce that road fee. Do we need to fix the roads? Absolutely. When I was on the council before, we presented 2 or 3 different options, and they were defeated by some of the people who passed a road fee then that's 4.5 times larger. So I think as citizens, we need to have good infrastructure, we need to have good services, but I'd like to keep a reserve in my pocketbook too. So I ask the hard questions. I look hard at the budget, I make suggestions, but I'm here for the taxpayers of Highland. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is the Murdoch Connector, and I'm shocked, but I want you to know that I worked on the Developmental Center board with the board, and they have approved the Murdoch Connector. My neighborhood is sacrificing greatly for the Murdoch Connector. It will help traffic flow, but you need to help us as we make this big transition too, and respect our property rights as well. So I do support the Murdoch Connector, regardless of what's on the internet.
Everybody, I think we can all agree that we have 4 fantastic candidates for city council here in our great city of Highland. And so if you could join me right now in a big round of applause and thanking them for taking the time. All right, moving right along. One of the hardest things about being a mayor is oftentimes you have to sit back and listen to everything, right? For the last hour, both of you have been exemplary in sitting back and listening to these wonderful candidates for city council. But now we're going to flip the table. They're going to listen to you. They're going to hear the answers you have. And I'm sure they've heard from you multiple times, as many of them mentioned. And so what we'd like to do is start out, and we will have, I believe, Jesse Schoenfeld, you pick the first to start out with your opening statement, and then Ron Dan, you'll segue into yours. We'll give each of you 3 minutes for this.
3?
3 whole minutes.
I want to go rewrite. I'm Jesse Schoenfeld, and I want to be the mayor of Highland. My family and I moved here 21 years ago. We moved here when 2 of our kids were serving their LDS missions. But when they finished their missions, they found us anyway. I've been active in city affairs for several years. I worked on the Parks and Trails Committee, focusing on the Highland Glen Park. I was elected to the City Council in 2012 and served 4 years. With that, I was asked to work with the City Tree Commission and the North Utah Valley Animal Shelter. After 2 years, I was voted to be the chairman of that board. I saw the need and reestablished the Beautification Committee. I reestablished the Economic Development Committee, and I was the Highland Fling chairman for 2 years. Those are good things. I want to see Highland be one. One city that protects its residents appropriately. Right now, our Lone Peak Public Safety District is in disarray, and our firemen and paramedics are demoralized. The district is drastically understaffed. This situation needs to be corrected immediately. These men protect our families and our homes, and Highland needs to be one city that regains its highly distinguished safety district. Highland needs to be one city that doesn't let other cities encroach on our land and our property rights or try to annex us into their city. Highland City needs to be one who works with its residents. We need to work diligently to resolve the issues of the Highlands, the open space neighborhoods. There need to be compromise and urgency with all involved to get yes and get it done. Highland needs to be one city that supports its growing public library. Highland can be one small town that can attract business. Progress is coming, and we need to be a part of it. Highland needs to have its own identity. I will work to get Highland City its own zip code and its own post office. Highland's great. Together we can make it exceptional. Let's make Highland be one of a kind. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I'd also like to thank staff for organizing this, promoting it, and for getting all these people here. I appreciate that. When I ran for office 4 years ago, I made 3 commitments to you. First, I said I would work to improve communications with city government and the residents. The city is doing better, much better. The mayor and staff have made great strides, and I have been an active participant in that progress. Residents have more opportunity to interact with the council during council meetings and open houses, like the road show that we did on the roads. We have a vibrant social media presence now with regular updates and lots of good information. We conduct an annual resident survey and I share those results with you so that you know what you and your neighbors think and we can have our decisions informed by those opinions. Second, I made a commitment to research issues, solicit input, and share my understanding with you on critical issues. Here's what I've done. I've written over 100 articles, including notes from city council meetings, information related to tax rates, roads, and budgets, and so on. In total, that's about 3 novels worth of words. Not nearly as good as a Tom Clancy novel, but I don't claim to be him. There are over 900 charts, graphs, maps, and pictures in those posts. And I know I benefited from it, and I've heard from others that they value that. I've held 15 issues and information meetings where we've been able to interact with leaders from every level of government, from the lieutenant governor down to the library board chair. Those have been attended by anywhere from 5 to over 100 people. Interestingly enough, when the state attorney general came, we had 5 people show up. That's interesting. I made a commitment to do my utmost to ensure that the city serves its residents and that Highland remains a great place to live and raise a family. Highland continues to be that place. And we're making improvements. We're improving the parks. The library is a much more friendly and welcome place than it was 4 years ago. Any of you that have gone there, you know that's true. I've worked with the library directory a lot on helping her execute her plans. We have a plan and funding to get our roads back in shape. We are on the right track. I know I don't have all the answers, but I learned one thing from you, and that is when we communicate, when accurate information is shared, we coalesce around decisions that we can all get behind. I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Everybody, big round of applause for the fantastic job, both of you, by the way, I must add. So, all right, moving right on. We started with some easy questions for the city council candidates, right? Let's do some equally easy questions for you. Let's start out with something that a lot of people who run for political office don't often think about. So I'm going to give a minute and a half to answer this, and we'll start this time with Rob, and then move to Jesse. What is your job as mayor?
My job as mayor is to, one, put together the agenda for the council meetings, work with staff, find out what needs to be on it, listen to residents, listen to council members, and see what needs to be on the agenda. To support that agenda, we need to collect and put good information together to give the council so that they can make good decisions. That in the past has been a little bit problematic, and we've made great strides. I think we can do better there. Second, I'm your representative, so when something goes wrong, you talk to me. Now, I don't have a vote, but if you have a concern, I can give it to the council and we can make things happen. If it's a staff or an execution issue, we can make that happen. And we don't need to involve the council necessarily. If it's just, this isn't happening and it should, and we have budget for it, then I can work with the staff to make that happen. I have a good relationship with the staff, and I think we have a wonderful staff to work with, and I think we can and get things done in that way. I also represent the city to other communities. And to that extent, I think it's important that I be an effective communicator, that I represent your interests when we're talking with other cities. And I think I've demonstrated via the activities I've had up to date that I can do that.
I think one of the important things for me as mayor is to be a good face for the city, not only to the residents, but for other cities. I think too that I need to keep a good uplifting attitude for our meetings by setting a decent agenda and knowing what's going on with our city and how to keep our councilmen in line. I know it takes a lot of tough people to keep them going in line. We do have to work a lot with staff, and I have a very good rapport with staff. I've worked with them in a lot of different situations, and I can truly call them friends. I think that we need to be good communicators. I think we need to represent ourselves well to the community, and I know that it'll have to be with other communities in the state. That's what I need to do.
Thank you. All right, both of you have had quite a bit of experience in the past. So if you wouldn't mind, share for the audience today an experience from the past where you talked with one of the residents and that completely changed your mind on how you would vote on an issue. And we'll start with Jesse. And go ahead.
I've talked to one resident that is completely convinced that everything needs to be R140, which means that we need to have big lots. And I, to some degree, agreed with her because I like big lots. But I also think there's some people that can't afford great big lots, or that don't want to take care of big lots because they're over 60. And when I got through talking to her, I saw her idea as a good idea, that we take care of what the citizens who are here want, not worry about people who are wanting to come in, whether they want little or big, but we have to protect the people who are here. So that made me realize that I need to listen to the people who are here when I had kind of made up my mind before.
That's kind of the space of where I voted on something different than I would personally. So when we were talking about rezoning the land adjacent to Ridgeline Elementary, the developer came in with a proposal of doing R130 there. He said, I can lay the lots out better. I think I can do a better product with that. And it seemed okay to me. The width of the lot is pretty fine. I was okay with it. I put a survey on my blog, and it came back, and the survey results I got were 70-30. They want to keep the R140. And I researched the issues. He sent me emails, and they sent me an email with 20 reasons why it needed to stay R140. Now, I was directing my response back to them saying, for example, you're saying it needs to be R140 instead of R130 because you don't want trucks driving in the road. I said, well, that doesn't make sense. You're going to have trucks however it's developed. And there were a number of issues like that. So I winded those down and then got to the salient ones, and we talked about it. And when we ended up voting, it was a subjective thing. And so I went with what I felt was the preference of the neighboring residents and voted R140 instead of R130.
Thank you. There's a reason we didn't ask the question earlier, because we saved it for these two. So, the next question for you, based on that segue, everybody should know what it is we're talking about. And this one will start with Rob and move to Jesse. We'll give you a minute to answer. What are the thoughts on the connector road? Should it remain in Highland?
Well, the road needs to get built, and it will get built. It'll be funded by county money, MAG. The land that the road is built that's going to be in Highland regardless. The state owns the rest of the land. And the state is the one that said they would rather be in AF. AF isn't recruiting them as far as I know. The state said they wanted to be in AF because the development center is already in AF and served by their police, fire, sewer, water infrastructure. I get that. So they only want to deal with one municipality, not two. The state, since they own the land, can do what they want with the land. Their plan called for and still calls for 630 apartments to be built south of the high school. I think it would be to our advantage, even despite those negatives, to keep the land in Highland because we will have some influence, I don't know what, as long as the state owns the land, they can do what they want with it without our permission, ordinances or no ordinances. But we would still have some level of influence. However, it will be the state that makes the request, and it will not be us that makes the final decision. The Highland can vote to keep it in Highland, but they can appeal that, and then it will go to a county board, and they'll make the decision.
Can you repeat that question for me again, please?
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on the connector road and should it remain in Highland?
Well, that's part of the problem that we have right now is that it is in Highland, and the way the plan looks on the city part, the west end of the road, is encroaching on some of our citizens' properties. So we want to be very careful to mitigate those problems and not take any more of their land than is necessary. Now, on the state part of the road, I don't know how, Rod knows how many apartments are going to be built there, or just that American Fork, they want American Fork to annex it, because the last I heard, that council is in flux. It has to be decided for sure by the legislature in January. And until then, we do not know what their plans are, and they won't tell us. They won't have decided by then. So it's up in the air until after January, and then they'll make their plans. But we know that it's really important for that plan to stay in Highland because of the economic development that is crucial and could be of such benefit for all of us in Highland.
Thank you so much. There's been a lot of talk this evening about annexing and other cities wanting what Highland wants, right? So how are you, as mayor, we'll give you a minute to answer this, so it's going to be a tough one, okay? How are you as mayor, starting with Jesse and then Rod, going to lead the charge and ensure that Highland City continues to have the land that Highland City wants and is able to annex those in? We'll start with Jesse.
Well, one thing is good communication with other cities. It seems like we've been a little surprised lately at some of the actions that some of the cities around us are taking. Like we didn't even know what they were doing. I want to be in communication with them so that I know what's going on and not be surprised. The other thing is, I'm going to bug them. I will be on their doorstep. I will be pounding their doors. I will be at their meetings so that we know what we're doing and what we're talking about. I'm a typical woman that can flap her lips. That's how we're going to do it.
And that will be on Facebook here.
Go ahead. I can tell it was.
Thank you. Rob?
There are two areas that we're talking about right now with respect to boundary adjustments. I talked about the state land south of the high school. That's a separate issue. As a side note, the legislature, according to Dan and Mike, will not decide the boundary adjustment. That will come back to the state, and then they'll have to negotiate with Highland and American Fork. I've talked to some of their council members already, and there's at least one that I've talked to that is not interested in acquiring the land from the development center. But that will be our decision, not the legislature's decision. On Dry Creek, we're having good dialogue right now with the North County Water District that owns the land Some of the land that they own is in Highland, some of the land that they own is in Lehigh, and a little bit was in the county. They just been annexed. That piece has been annexed into AF. I think we can come to a good terms there, keep the boundary where it is, have the interlocal agreement to manage the park, and I think we'll be fine. We'll just need to keep talking to them. We're doing well on that right now.
Thank you, both of you. Next question, it's one I always like to ask, and I think everybody in the audience will enjoy. We'll start with Rod and we'll end with Jesse. If you were not running for mayor, why would you want everyone to vote for your opponent? And you have 1 minute to answer that.
I would ask them to
He's going to
vote.
say why he wants to vote for you.
I would ask them to vote for Jessie because she is committed, she's passionate, she's energetic. She wants to do good for Highland, and I think that's a great attribute to have in a mayor.
Boy, that didn't take you long. I would say vote for Rod because he's passionate also. And he studies and he gets it on the internet, on the computer. He tries to communicate with people, and he is passionate about politics.
Thank you both of you. Thank you for being good sports on that question. It's always a fun one. Wouldn't everybody agree to hear what they think of their opponent? Now, we've already heard this question tonight, but I think we'd all like to hear what the mayoral candidates have about this. We would like to know which department, in your opinion, within our city is struggling the most, and why, and what you as mayor are going to do to change that. I'll give both of you a minute and a half. We'll start with Jesse and then go to Ron.
Without a doubt, it's the public safety department that is struggling. It has seriously been decimated, just recently taken a nosedive. Some of the things that have gone on in there, they have been scrutinized and they have been more demoralized. We've lost up to 10 firemen in the last 6 months, and there aren't new ones to replace. What are we going to do? How are we going to protect ourselves if we don't do something to get our people back? We may have to take some money out of our excess in the general fund or something to pay more money. We need to stop and maybe reissue their benefits so there'll be something there that they will want to stay for. People who are paramedics and firemen do it out of love and devotion. They don't do it for the money. So we have to give them something to stay here for. Our fire and paramedic department has been the top department in the state. And right now, we can't even staff even close to the capacity that we need to staff. So we've got to get real busy and help them out.
Well, in terms of city departments, I think all of our departments are doing well within the city. The fire department is a part of an interlocal agreement we have between Cedar Hills, Highland, and Alpine. And so as mayor or any council member, we can't dictate to that department what to do because we're just a member of a 7-member board where we have 3 votes on that. So even if all of Highland is together on an issue, we can't change it unless we work with other cities and talk to them. So I think it's important to keep working with the cities that are on the board. With respect to the problem in the fire department, one of them is our fire chief retired. We're in the process of replacing him. I think that is probably the most important thing we can do right now is pick a great chief. Because we need a leader, somebody that can rally the troops, that can determine what's the best way to organize the department, what policies and procedures we need to put in place. I am now a member of that board. That just happened about a month ago. And I will be at the meeting next week where we go through and look at the final 3 candidates. So I'll be part of that process. But I think that's the most important thing that we can do right now is hire a great chief.
All right, Time sure does fly when you're having fun, doesn't it? We're to the final question, then we'll do closing statements. So the final question, once again, we'll give you, let's do the easy one. How's that sound?
Okay, let us be the judge of that after.
You can be the judge after? Okay, all right, perfect. By show of
We
hands,
both have
we'll see
full
that
lot.
it's easy. So we'll go back to one that we asked for at the beginning of the evening, okay? We received 1.6 million in property taxes in the city of Highland. Our police and fire budget is 36.2% of our total expenses, which are $8.8 million. So, with property tax of 1.6, a budget of 16.5, how are you as mayor going to increase revenue to the city without increasing property taxes? And we will start with Rod and then Edward.
We will continue to have business growth in Highland. We've had credit union come in the last couple of years. We have Myers, we have Ace Hardware, we have CVS. That will continue to grow, and I think that's great. I like businesses that serve the community. That revenue will continue to grow. Property tax revenue doesn't grow unless we have growth, and then we still, your rate doesn't change when your property value goes up and down. Did you know that? The tax rate you pay on your home should stay roughly the same. Highland as a whole would get, let's say, 10 million last year. If we had no growth, we'd get 10 million next year if your property value's doubled. That's the kind of tax system we have. So if we're going to get more money and we need more than we're having with current growth, we can reinvigorate our economic development committee. But at the end of the day, some of the things like property tax don't increase with inflation. And so every once in a while, I think we need to look at that tax rate and see if it's right. Right now, when you build a home in Highland, there's a net loss of $216 if you look at the services we provide versus the property taxes that you pay. So we have to make up that difference through sales tax, and if that isn't going fast enough, then I don't think we're going to talk about the fire department. How do you fix that? We don't have a magic money machine. And, you know, inflation happens, and and the taxes, some of the taxes may need to go up. So I will not say I won't raise your taxes. I will try and be as efficient as possible. I think I've demonstrated that, but I think we just have to be wise and look at all the options.
The businesses in Highland are thriving, and the economy of our state is booming. So all of those things help us have more sales tax revenue. If we can get our own zip code, that is an automatic increase in our sales tax. Plus, I really feel that we can get more commerce in our city limits. It's a great place to have people come. They want to come here, and let's give a business to them and let them want to come here. It could almost be a destination, some of the businesses that we could get here. I think the sales tax is our biggest boon right now, and I think that can take care of it. I agree with Rod that sometimes we may have to raise taxes because it's in such a flux. I mean, you just can't tell what the economy is going to be like. Right now, it's great, but we don't know. So we can't promise that we won't try to raise taxes. But right now, let's work on the sales tax end of it. More business, business from zip code change, that should help us a ton.
Thank you so much. Well, I just want to say thank you to both mayoral candidates tonight. You've done a fantastic job answering the not so tough questions, the somewhat harder questions. And I'm sure there's a lot of fun posts going on social media right now about everything going on tonight. So we're going to wrap it up now. Once again, we'll start with Jesse Schoenfeld and end with Rob Mann. You have 2 minutes to do your closing statements. And like I told the city council candidates, every vote will be decided based on this 2-minute speech. So no pressure at all.
If that's really true, here we go. I am Jesse Schoenfeld, and I really do want to be your mayor. I've had experience working in the city, and I know how the city operates. I know about the city budget. I've worked alongside city employees and become their friend. That doesn't mean I would give them a pass. That means I would treat them like people. I have become friends with other city and county personnel. I am a fiscal conservative, but I'm also a common sense conservative. I do not have any outside objectives or side agendas. I only want to initiate ideas and programs that benefit our city. I hope I have a welcoming, friendly personality, and I want to be a great face and prominent proponent for our city, as we have to communicate with other organizations throughout the state, and as well as we sell, yet protect, the good things of our city. I am committed to this community and dedicated to its progress. Progress and growth are happening all around us. Let's be a part of it. Let's not be left behind and regret it years down the road. Let's not get stepped on. Let's not step on. Let's start stepping up. Stand up for Highland and vote yes for Jess.
So as I mentioned, I have a blog, and I put out 100 articles, 3 novels, lots of charts and graphs. I shared this information for one reason. I want you to know how I voted and why. Look at my website. Make your decision. Am I being truthful? Am I trying to inform you? I've given you the information to make a decision, and you're welcome to do it, and I appreciate the fact that some of you will take the time to do that. Now, I've responded to emails and phone calls while I've been a counselor. In one case, on one issue, there were 168 emails that I exchanged with residents. One of them was not happy with my opinion, and he's one of my staunchest supporters, so that's been a very pleasant surprise. As I said before, I don't know all the answers, but collectively we can figure out the answers. We just need good information, and we need to communicate and work together. We can do that. I've demonstrated that I can help that process. So over the next few weeks, you'll make a decision on who you want to represent Highland. Where do you want Highland to be? What kind of leadership do you want? When I look at deciding on who to vote for, I look at 3 things. I look at their character first. Second, I look at, is their view of what government is supposed to do for us aligned with my view? And then third, I look at what are their qualifications. You need to understand the job to know what those qualifications are. But look at them. In my case, talk to the people that I've worked with. I've been surprised at the support I've gotten from all parts of the political spectrum. People who work for me like me, and I think they like me because I'm willing to engage. I listen, and I respond respectfully. I try to make the right decisions, and I've really enjoyed being your council member. And I would like to continue that service as your mayor. I'll continue to look for ways to communicate with you, and together we can make Highland an even better place to live and raise families.
Everybody, big round of applause for Jennifer. And now, they've done their job. They've stood up here, they've answered your questions, they've done their research. Continue to ask them the questions necessary that are important to you. And then I challenge each and every single one of you, myself included, to go out and share what you've learned this evening with your neighbors and with your friends. Make sure that you do your duty as a citizen here in Highland and vote. Get out there and talk with your neighbors and your friends. Help them understand why you're supporting, who you're supporting. I know each and every single person sitting up here, whether it be Christopher Kemp, Scott Smith, Kurt Hostler, Dennis LeBaron, Jesse Schoenfeld, or Rod Mann, would greatly appreciate your support. Once again, big round of applause to them. They did a fantastic job.